Good morning, children. This is class 6th, subject social science, chapter number 4, civics. Key elements of democratic government. As we have already completed one of the lecture from this chapter, in which we talked about South Africa, and at the time of the apartheid movement there in South Africa, then in 1994 it became democratic country, and after then the apartheid law that was completely vanished from that country. Now it is a democratic country. Now in this lecture we will talk about how the people can participate there in a democratic country and what are the key elements of democratic country. So let's see the topics that we will discuss today. Democratic government. As we have done many times, what is this democratic government? Once more we'll see what is this. Then participation in the government. How people participate in a democratic government. Role of government in resolving conflict. How government plays an important role in solving any of the conflict. Conflict means jhagda, vivad. Key elements of democratic government. So these are the topics that we will be discussing today. Let's move ahead. The first topic, democratic government. Democratic government is the most popular and the widely accepted form of government in the world. The reason you all know that this is the government in which people are equal and they can participate there in election and they can cast their vote in election and choose their representative or their leaders there. As it is a government in which all people are equal and they have right to elect their representative. Representative, the person who represent a particular population there in the government. That we will be discussing when we will talk about the local government in next chapter. How these representative they work. And we have done there in third chapter what is government, the representative democracy, in which we did that representative democracy is the democracy in which people have the link with government through their representative. Representative to whom they are electing in elections as their leader. So this is all about democratic government. Participation in the government or in democratic government. People can participate in democratic government by casting their votes to elect the representative of their choice. Whenever the elections are there, you might have seen there we see different holdings there on the roads or on different buildings of different candidates. The nominations those are having for elections. And at the time of election, the people above the age of 18, they cast their vote, and whosoever gets the highest number of vote, that person wins the election and become representative of that particular people in that area. So in this participation, people have right to elect their representative of their own choice. All governments are elected for a fixed time in democracy. As in India, if we talk about this time period is 5 years and it is known as tenure of the government. So here in India, whether it is local government, state government, it has its tenure as 5 years. After every 5 years, the leaders or the ministers, they are re-elected by the people. It is required to have limitation on the power of the government, and these elections that are held after every 5 years, they makes the limitation there in the government, and it is necessary also. Otherwise the leaders or ministers, they will not listen, they will not listen the demands and problems of the people. If they want to remain in power, they have to be re-elected by the people. And in this way, they will do definitely some work in favor of the people also. So this is all about the limitation. What is there? There in the democracy, government is not fixed. That is, that has some of the time period. After that time period, it is re-elected. This is the participation of the people in government through vote. Now some other participation we will talk about. Other ways of participation in democratic government. By taking interest in the work of the government. When we have interest in the work of government, we always listen the news, we always be aware about the working of the government. In that way also we are participating in the government. By criticizing government when it is required. Sometime the government, when it takes any of the decision and that is not in favor of the people, they can criticize government. Like one example is shared there in your book also. In 2005, when government increased rate of electricity, at that time people expressed their disapproval. They did not want that. That's why they protested against the government, and government at the last it had taken that decision back. By taking out rallies, dharnas, strikes, etc. You might have seen on TV channels, news channels, some people they are sitting on dharnas, some rallies are taking out for their some of the purposes that they want some of the demands from the government. So in this way also they are participating there in the government. By taking interest in social movement, that is also the way. Basically in social movements, the people those remain active, they are Dalits, Adivasis, women, means some of the categories, those think that they are inferior there in the society, so they are able to raise their voice in front of government. So different ways are there by which people can participate in democratic government. And the one that is very important, that is by casting the vote, people can participate in the government. Okay. Now, what are the benefits for that participation? Benefits of participation. If people are alert and interested in the working of the government, that country will be stronger. The reason? Because government or the different ministers they are in the government, they know that people are aware about all the workings of the government, so definitely they will do better work there. So if people are alert and interested in the working of government, definitely the country will be stronger. It will make the government responsible for its duties. Because if government does not do its duties properly, So the people, those are alert, they are here to remind them to be responsible. So it will make the government responsible for its duties. Now, the next topic is role of government in resolving conflicts. Conflicts, vivad, that can be between two societies, two religions, maybe between two states, maybe between any of the two families or anywhere. Conflicts can be anywhere. So, the role of government in resolving conflicts. What the government play role there? It is the responsibility of the government in a democracy to resolve the conflicts. It is the government responsibility. Why? Because when people try to resolve the conflicts on their own, they can create violence. If the groups, two or three groups, they try to resolve the conflicts on their own, so they can create violence there. So that will be really harmful for the society, for the people. So that's why government is responsible for resolving the conflicts. Then it is government duty, or so it is important for government to step in and mediate the conflicts using legal means. Means under the laws only government can mediate the conflicts, because whether any person they are in the government or any common person, they all work under the law. So the government can step in and mediate the conflict using the legal means only. Legal means मतलब कानूनी तौर से, गवर्नमेंट भी कानूनी तौर से ही मीडिएट कर सकती है एनी ऑफ द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट. Okay, then it is also important for government to ensure that the conflicts are resolved fairly. This is also the duty or responsibility of government to see that the conflicts they are resolved, they are solved fairly. There is no discrimination. There should not be any discrimination in solving the conflicts. Government should not take the benefit of that if any of the party or any of the group is relative of the particular leader or any of the person in government, that cannot be played there. Government should think that the solution of any conflict that must be fair. Then example of some conflicts between states. Here in your book one conflict is given that is showing the dispute or the conflict between two states, and these two states are Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Kaveri water dispute it is known as between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, what is the dispute there? That Karnataka and Tamil Nadu both are having the dams on this river, Kaveri river. There. So water stored there in Krishna Sagar dam in Karnataka is used for irrigation, and number of districts there, they get water from there. Then the water stored in Meteor dam in Tamil Nadu, Krishna Raja Sagar dam they are in Karnataka, and Meteor dam they are in Tamil Nadu. Both are constructed on this Kaveri river and they are getting the water from this river. Suppose what is the reason for conflict basically? Suppose one of the dam that is there in the Tamil Nadu, Meteor dam. This is downstream dam, means it is getting water after Karnataka's dam Krishna Sagar. So if this downstream dam in Tamil Nadu, it can get water only when the water is released by Karnataka's state. If water is released there from Karnataka's upstream, definitely only then Tamil Nadu will get water. So this is the reason for this conflict there between these two states, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. In Karnataka, Krishna Rajasagar Dam is there on Kaveri River. In Tamil Nadu, Mettur Dam is there on Kaveri River. And one more example I want to share with you, that is Satluj water dispute between Punjab and Haryana. You might have heard some of the news on the news channels that Satluj water dispute, and basically the political parties, they just speak about that if we will be there it will be resolved, but it is continuing from many years. So there is dispute between Punjab and Haryana on Satluj water also. The central government has to step in to resolve the dispute. Definitely central government, because there is conflict between two of the state. So central government should step in to resolve the dispute. So this is all about what is the role of government in resolving conflicts. Next is government steps to treat people equally. As we have done that in democratic government, all the people are equal. So what are the steps that government take? Discriminatory actions are banned. As according to law, all people, according to our constitution, all the people are equal in front of law. So for that, discriminatory actions there in society are banned by the government. Laws are strictly enforced. The laws whatever are made, they are in our constitution, they are strictly enforced by the government. As government has different bodies, different departments, equality and justice are enforced. As it is there in our constitution, all the people are equal and there should be justice with each and everyone. So equality and justice are enforced there in India. Equal facilities are given to all the people. So these are some of the ways that government take to make sure that all people are treated equally. This is all about in democratic government. Key elements of democratic government. Equality. Definitely in democratic government, it is key element of this government that all the people are equal. Abolition of discrimination. Abolition means khatam hona. Abolition of untouchability. If you remember this discrimination, untouchability, we had covered there in chapter number 2. And then in our constitution, it is said by constitution that there should not be any discrimination, and untouchability has been abolished there from India according to our constitution. People have right to elect their representative there in the democratic government. Respect for every citizen there, as all are equal, and all the people have right to get the government job. All the people there, they can have the government job there in the democratic government. So these are some of the key elements: equality, justice, abolition of discrimination, abolition of untouchability, equal rights, they elect their representative, respect for every citizen. These are the key elements of democratic government. So this is all about the chapter. As we have covered the participation of the people in democratic government. Different ways we discussed how people participate. Then we have discussed about there how the government plays, what type of roles the government play to resolve the conflict. And then some of the key elements of democratic government. So this is all about the today's lecture. Now let's discuss about the homework. Do the following questions. Listen beta, whenever if any of the question that you do not know the answer, you can attempt it in rough notebook and you can share the answer there through email to mark your presence. But on the next day when you will be getting the answers or solutions for the questions, then you can write the correct answer there in fair register. Number 1. What are the various ways in which people can participate in the process of government? Why do you think we need the government to find solution to many disputes and conflicts? Why do we need the government? Why the people they are not solving the conflicts themselves? What action does government take to ensure that all people are treated equally? And the fourth one, what are the key elements of democratic government? Now, it's time to discuss the homework solution. Who was Nelson Mandela? Nelson Mandela was the leader of anti-apartheid movement. He was the first black president of South Africa. He fought against discrimination on the basis of race. Second, define apartheid. Apartheid means separation of people on the basis of race. And that's why Nelson Mandela was known as the leader of anti-apartheid movement, as he fought against the discrimination on the basis of race. When did South Africa become a democratic country? South Africa became a democratic country in 1994. Before that, there was no equality there in South Africa. The black people were having more rights there than the white people were having more rights than the black people. How would Maya's life be different in South Africa today? Now we are talking about the situation, the scenario that is present today. Maya's life would be different in South Africa today as she can use roads, buses and trains and as others use, like white people. She can enter in hotels whatever she wants. She can use hospitals and ambulances as others use. Earlier what was there? The separate hospitals and ambulances were there for black people. And as she belonged to the black community, so now the scenario is changed. Now every person that is treated equally. So she can use the same hospital and ambulances. Now she can walk in parks freely. This is all about the homework solution of lecture number 1. I hope that both the lectures you have understood. Thank you and have a nice day.